Exactly. We'll see to that. Mark my words.
Are you trying to threaten the Royal Mint Master again? And with nothing but common slander? You haven't learned much since the last time.
Well, we've not had much time for that. We've been fully occupied with collecting evidence. Isn't that so, Henry?
I know about your account ledgers, and the ones from Buresh. The real ones, that prove how you carried out this fraud.
You've made up those books. Or do you actually have them on you?
Of course not. Do you think we're completely stupid? We've got copies here. The original books are safely stashed away out of your reach.
Exactly. And if anything happens to us, they'll see to it that King Sigismund and the town council will hear all about Hermes Trismegistos silver skimming business.
So, do you want to chance your luck, or come to an agreement?
Captain,
Sir.
this matter is an internal affair of the Crown and my office. I'll resolve it here with these gentlemen in private.
Are you sure, sir?
Yes, damn it! Do what I say! Wait for me by the gate.
Let us step inside. Let's give the Mint Master the privacy he requests.
Gentlemen, I expect you'll keep this entire matter to yourselves. And I expect you'll be wanting something in return.
The executioner is far from here, so I'll be standing in for him today. God knows what kind of man you are. May God have mercy on my soul.
What? You can't just cut down the Royal Mint Master? Wait! We got off on the wrong foot!
I'll give you the wrong foot. Right up your ass.
You're right. I underestimated you. I made a mistake.
You certainly did, sir. A big mistake.
The only question is, how much your mistake is going to cost you.
Don't do anything rash, Kunslin. I understand you're angry, but he could come in useful.
That's true. Intelligent people can always reach an agreement that benefits everyone, and...
You're right. I'm more than angry. Swear you leave me and my family in peace, and our mining rights will remain untouched.
You have my word. I swear it.
Good. You know what awaits you otherwise. If Martin believes you can be of use to us, I'll leave it to him. I'm not in the mood for this.
Right. You said intelligent people can come to an agreement. So let's see. We need to know what Sigismund's planning.
Spy on the king? You can't ask that of me.
It doesn't sound like you want to come to an agreement.
You can't.
We can, and we will.
This is nothing compared to the punishment you're facing for what you've done. Either you agree to this, or Sigismund learns all about it. Then you'd have to run damn far to avoid the chopping block.
Henry's right. So don't even think about double-crossing us. You've a lot more to lose than we do.
And don't forget about your oath either.
I understand. All right, I'll do as you ask.
Excellent. And now get out of my house.
Of course.
I'll take my leave too, Kunslin. I've still got some affairs to deal with today. At least I can see our Mint Master out. I'm sure he'll be delighted to tell me many interesting things.
God go with you, Martin. I hope we'll soon meet again in more pleasant circumstances. Ha ha! Now that was a good one. The mighty Mint Master strode in like a lion, and then crawled out like a whipped dog. Oof. I can breathe a lot easier now we've got rid of that bastard. At any rate, Henry, I'll take those incriminating books. I'll hide them in a safe place, just in case he gets any ideas.
Good idea, sir. Here they are.
Thanks, Henry. You did a fine job, and I'll never forget your help.
Well, you can return the favor right away, sir. You promised to help me get into Malashov.
I did, and I'll keep that promise. There's a secret passage leading out of Malashov, and you could avail of it in the opposite direction.
A secret passage? That's a godsend. Von Bergov won't have an inkling.
He won't. It's well hidden. We didn't even know about it ourselves for a long time, until Rosa discovered it in the fortress one day. She can best explain to you how to find it. She should be in a room. It's up the stairs. You'll see the door on your left.
All right, I'll ask her. Thank you very much, Sir Kunzlin.
Don't thank me yet. The worst of it is still ahead of you.
Nobody will be expecting me. The passageway is an advantage that works on my side. Besides, I've got my spy coat on, which makes me hard to spot. I can deal with any locks, and if I come across anyone, I'll take him out without a sound or a trace.
Well, it looks like you know what you're doing, and that you've done it before. I'll pray for your success. It would help us in more ways than you probably realize.
What do you mean, in more ways?
Isn't it obvious? We've been sitting with our arms folded until now. And where has it got us? We look helpless, and it's difficult to find allies. But if you liberate Lord Capon, right from under von Bergov's nose, the word will spread like wildfire throughout the land, and von Bergov will look like a fool, and he'll lose a strong advantage in parleying. That would help convince some of those who are hesitant about joining us in the fight against Sigismund and the Praguers.
You're right. I hadn't thought of the other consequences. And I reckon even Jobst hasn't realised. Thanks again. As soon as I speak to Rosa, I'll head out right away. I'll get Lord Capon out of Malashov if it's the last thing I do.
You've no lack of courage, son. But you shouldn't count on that alone. Be careful. And good luck. I'll at least look at the books you brought. I'm very curious about what there is on Vavak and how he did it all.
I wish you a pleasant read. There's more than enough on him in there.
O, Gloverek się pojawił. Cześć, Glover.
How did you become a knight?
I paid for it. When Malashov was vacated, I bought that fortress. Well, first I negotiated with King Charles for permission. Then it was entered into the land register as my property, and my house became the Knights of Malashov. There were still some legal requirements surrounding it, but I won't bore you with those. But personally, I'm pleased that in the history of our house, it was me who managed to elevate it to the nobility.
You can simply buy a title? Just like that?
Definitely not just like that. But in a certain manner of speaking, you can, yes. It's not at all such an unusual practice among rich burghers nowadays. In Prague, for example, there used to be the Rokitsan burgher family, and they bought Okorsh. That's a castle 3 times bigger than Malashov. It may also happen that some commoner lends the king a lot of money, and the king doesn't have the coin to pay back the debt. So he resolves it by pledging one of his castles. Nevertheless, the old nobility, such as Vavak von Hradec, don't like it, and they despise us for it. They see us as upstarts without a proper ancient origin. But I think in a few generations, if I ever marry Rosa off, that is, it won't make any difference anymore. We'll be established among the nobility, and all these injustices will be a thing of the past. I pray that my house will endure, and that my descendants will live to see it.
Well, enjoy your well-deserved spurs. May your house endure and prosper. What's the political situation in the city? I mean the politics of support for our side.
All in all, miserable. Bailiff Plymel is also on Sigismund's side, as is his son, who's so corrupt even Vava could envy him. And I tested the waters among the councillors, but it doesn't look good for us at the moment.
Who sits on the city council?
Wenceslaus Forsucher, Jerome Naz, Franz Rosenthal, and Andrew Polner. They're from the old and rich burgher families. just like us. Martin tried to negotiate some support from them, but, as you may have heard, we didn't manage to win anyone over. They either have their interests connected with Sigismund, like Nas and the others, or they just don't want to commit themselves, so they don't lose their property and status. That's the only thing you can count on them for.
But they don't sit alone on the council. What about the others?
They don't. Then there are the representatives of the guilds. But to be honest, they don't have that much power. At least not for now. Compared to the old houses, the guild masters only quite recently acquired their positions on the council, so they probably won't risk losing them. But you're right that we might find support among them, especially by promising more council seats. The thing is, we're not yet in a position to fulfill such a promise, and they're well aware of that.
And what about Vavak? He sits on the council, and we've got him in our pocket, right?
He does, along with other representatives of the Italian court, and they'll do what he tells them. Except maybe Friedrich Kummel, but that doesn't matter. Vavak is a slimy bastard who'll sink us as soon as he gets the chance. So I'd like to count on him only when absolutely necessary, because as soon as he learns something he could exchange for a pardon from Sigismund for the crimes you've uncovered, he'll use it to untie his hands.
Thank you for filling me in on the local situation.
Well, there wasn't much positive in it. But you're welcome.
And what about the church? Couldn't it be turned around? You can see Sedlet's monastery from the city. The abbot must have some influence, doesn't he?
He does. And his relationship with the city is not the best. First of all, the abbot is burning through his property. The monastery's having financial difficulties, and all it can do is sell off its village properties. And who do you think is buying them up? The Kuttenberg burghers, first and foremost. Then there's a long-standing dispute over the manning of some churches, which goes back as far as I can remember.
Well, then how about promising the abbot support and getting him on our side? Promises cost nothing, right?
Ha ha! I see you're no newcomer to politics. But we hesitated with the abbot, and he decided to throw in his lot with Sigismund. In fact, he's given him accommodation and is wining and dining him.
It's not like he had a lot of choice.
Oh, he did. A lot is permitted by the law of the church, even refusing access to a monarch.
Sigismund has a whole army behind him. How could the abbot refuse him?
Do you think Sigismund would attack a monastery? All he'd get from it would be a pile of old bones, and it'd tarnish his reputation in half of Europe. No, Sigismund doesn't need the abbot, but the abbot needs him. That's why he made the decision he made.
I'm glad we took care of Vavak without resorting to weapons. They outnumbered us, and they had heavy armor. I'm not really sure we could have held out against them.
If the worst came to the worst, we'd have had to try. We couldn't have backed out. There was too much at stake. But otherwise, I agree with you. We saved the lives of my soldiers, and maybe even our own. Thank goodness for that. After all, I've already fought my hardest battle, and don't need any more like that.
If I may be so bold, can I ask what the hardest battle you mentioned was?
Not long ago, when Sigismund's army besieged Kuttenberg. Back then, I saw things differently than I do today. I'd been advocating parleying instead of armed resistance. I feared, and rightly so, that Sigismund would use it as an excuse to seize property. But I was in the minority, and even my son Venza was convinced of the opposite. We quarreled a lot over that. In the end, he told me that even though I had acquired noble status, my days of glory had faded. He wanted to prove the Knights of Malashov didn't wear spurs just for show, and that we'd earned the armoured arm in our crest. When an opportunity arose to strike against the enemy, He rode out, despite me forbidding it. Or maybe because of it.
What happened next?
More importantly, what happened before? Some French knight appeared from God knows where. He said he was a renowned military leader and a personal friend of King Wenceslas, and that it was his sacred duty to defend the city. I no longer know why or how, but he was appointed commander of the city's defense. One of the first things he did was attack the huge trebuchets that were ruining our fortifications. It seems they were poorly defended, and when the Frenchman was putting together a cavalry unit to counterattack, my Venza joined. Only it was a trap, the oldest and most primitive trick, and our renowned French knight let himself get taken in. Of course, Sigismund, or whoever was in command, didn't leave his precious trebuchets unprotected. He had his own cavalry in reserve. When I learned where Venza had gone, I gathered my men and went to his aid. But when we arrived, it was all over, and there was nothing left for us to do but to collect the bodies of the fallen. Venza among them. So, you heard it. My hardest battle was the one in which I didn't even raise my weapon. But I won't make the same mistake a second time. It won't bring Venza back to me. But I'll defend what he tried to defend to my last breath. Our estates, our honor, and above all, our Rosa. God be with you. So, let's see what you've been cooking up, Babak. I won't leave a stone unturned, and you'll be trembling to the end of your days.
I thought it was old fart, but then I heard him coughing his lungs up in the yard again today.
Not a chance.
God bless you, sir.
No.
I've got a feeling
Careful!